Yeah, I'm going to try to be more clear here. So I'm going to read this for you. This will be another work industries I mentioned. I think blogs on Democracy era, Prime Minister Carney, about a couple of different creative ways that serve Canadians, especially during climate catastrophe coming up. Ongoing, started already, going to get worse, worse and worse. Not in 100 years. I'm talking about during our lifetimes, and of course, if you care about your kids and grandkids, most certainly 100% during their lifetimes. So, aside from saying to focus on a division that is conflict resolution, mediation training, and also peacekeeping, and we might have some, but really increase it, make it the theme, because it falls under probably, if you read the fine print of NATO obligations for that, right? I mean, let other people maybe buy equipment to fight the wars, and we are going to kind of try to prevent them first, right? With our specialists, we're going to maybe even catalog that there's no, crimes in relation to the rules of war, as if that means we're civilized. It doesn't. But also, after, right? After kind of the mediation to say, it's not just never again, and then other people are the oppressors since World War II. That's not how it works, right? So, but then the other thing I want to say is create a totally new part of either national defense, the DND. I'm going to read to you here who they are, or CAF, Canadian Armed Forces. Totally new division that relates to, well, let me read it. The Department of National Defense, DND, and the Canadian Armed Forces, CAF, support a strategic vision for defense in which Canada is strong at home, secure in North America, and engaged in the world, from regular forces to reserve forces and civilian employees. The defense team stretches from coast to coast to coast. Its membership represents the strength, skills, and diversity of Canada, and brings the experience necessary to protect and support Canadians no matter what is asked of them. Yeah, I think they rebel a lot with what is asked of them. So why don't you actually create a specific branch that people can join? And my God, if you want this to succeed, you got to get rid of the nonsense that you're not deviating from. Oh, must do this basic training, must be able to do this. My God, make it that it comes later if people want to specialize in this. Let's say somehow all your gods come and fix the problems you've created on this heavenly planet, and suddenly you don't need them anymore. Sure, they can specialize in other things, but really our common enemy all around the world is us, and what we are accelerating, which is cruel and unusual punishment to the kids you're bringing into this world, right? So let's create a specific branch that falls under the right wording in NATO, and they can't change it later on if they should actually do it too. Because we'll be busy with fires, we'll be busy with floods. The landslides coming in the western part of Canada, you can't believe it. That's hard to predict when it's going to happen. But we're talking about permafrost melting in higher mountains or glacial lakes that haven't, I said this before, indigenous communities that are 10,000 years old don't even have stories for this sometimes. Because maybe it happened around that time or before, and those stories were lost, or it became, linked with the Christianity flood stories, I don't know. But can you imagine the devastation when our big chunks of mountains go? Okay, so you can't at that point, let's say it happens in 3 weeks, you can't at that point expect the Canadian forces, to shoot mountains. You have to have people trained for the reality of the Anthropocene, including climate catastrophe scenarios that are going to happen more and more. And it can't be after the fact. After the fact means the politicians from now to the last, let's say till the 1960s, since then, should go to jail if they're still alive. Because they're practicing after the fact when they have no choice, kind of being a public servant. Yeah, so you can arrest them. Make sure they don't have any kids, right? Because people like that, Yeah, I think their bloodline should end. I think that's pretty dangerous for, Canada if you want to defend it. So again, I'm telling you that these specialists would really they'd be search and rescue trained, they'd be, you know, paramedic trained, they'd be firefighter trained, they'd be mental health first aid trained, and of course they would even expand the what do you call it again? Uh, the system we have of communication when there are crises, and the different sectors that form as these big projects require all of these leadership teams, that train in that, and then run scenarios, train a lot. That's how the money's going to be spent. Now, and of course you can recruit from people that may already have the basic training. And again, if you look at the training culture of the Canadian Armed Forces, they're falling behind on the times and they don't want to deviate. So again, it's got to be different totally different people, totally different places to train. So if you want to build things, build places to train people, and then hire trainers that constantly want to be evaluated and given feedback to keep improving. If you have the interest of hiring people with egos that can't handle that, then you're not going to succeed, because it's not about how much money you put in. It's about the agreements among yourselves as so-called helpers that you will undertake with transparency and accountability. So for me, for example, I would say I'd like to train people in basic counseling skills that already work in mental health, let's say in Canada, but don't have those skills. And then I want to be evaluated as I do it. And then I want to be given feedback from people that are better than me, or even equals, or even not in the profession, but maybe kind of realize things that others in the profession are stuck in a paradigm not to realize I could improve. That's the kind of Homo sapien feedback I'm trying to give you guys, because really, you all seem like you're little automaton zombies, Homo communia, that are really so disconnected from reality and are so intellectually lazy, and come up with your entire creativity is put in coming up with excuses or putting the responsibility for your own lives on other people. That's really sad. That's the only people I interact with.